All right, this is Stuart Hardy with All In Sports Outreach. Excited for another episode of our podcast. Today, you're going to hear from Alexis Milanowski, plays softball at Auburn University in Auburn, Alabama. And before we get to Alexis, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Jesus One Apparel. Visit them at jesusoneapparel.com. So, Alexis, thank you so much for joining me today.
And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I like to start these out, just give the listeners a little bit about who you are, maybe tell us, where you're from, about your family growing up, and then in that, just touch on, and we'll talk about faith a lot later on, but just kind of touch on, at what point did you make your faith your own?
So, like you said, I am Alexis Milanowski, but a lot of people in the softball community know me as Axe. I play for Auburn softball. I am a junior getting my degree in business administration. I am from Dothan, Alabama. I was born in Fairhope. And so basically, I grew up in a very God fearing household, which I'm so fortunate for. Just kind of a funny story. I actually got baptized in the first grade, and whenever I got baptized, sadly, we don't have a video of it, but the pastor asked me how old I was in front of the whole congregation, and but he called me by my mom's name, and so I told him I was like 40 years old, and because I was saying how old my mom was. But, anyways,
That's awesome.
but yeah, so we grew up going to church every Sunday. My mother was very, very educational, making it kid friendly and making me excited to go and continue to learn about God. And yeah, that's kind of how I've grown up and who I am right now.
So I have to ask, how long did you live in Fairhope?
I lived in Fairhope until second grade, and then we moved to Dothan.
What church did y'all go to?
Sadly, I really don't remember the name
That's fine.
there.
No, no, I lived in years ago. I lived in that area, and
Oh, really?
yeah, a
That's
lot
neat.
of folks from Selma I know still live in Fairhope, and a couple churches down there. So I was just curious. All right, so talk about softball for a moment. You said you play at Auburn. How did you and talk about the journey to get to Auburn? I mean, why Auburn softball?
So Auburn getting to this point has definitely not been easy. I mean, I have worked countless hours before school, after school, while maintaining my studies. I've given up a lot of sacrifices. I only went to think three high school dances, and that was my junior and senior prom, and then one homecoming, and that was it. I've missed countless birthday parties, etc., etc. The list could go on and on. But however, just to get to this point, I chose Auburn because I really loved the people that I knew were here. The people in my class, I'd actually played with my roommate since I was 9 years old, and our families were like best friends. So she was actually the one that took me on my visit to Auburn. I love the coaches here, and the bonus point was that it was only like 2.5 hours away from my house. So anytime I wanted to come home, I could come home, but it was far enough away to just kind of have like my own sense of freedom, I guess. But and honestly, it took a lot of prayer because honestly, Auburn was not my number one choice. I grew up an Alabama fan my whole life, and whenever the first phone call I got was from Alabama, something in my heart just told me that that was not where I was supposed to be. And it took me and my family by complete surprise. And I couldn't really explain it, but all of us kind of got the same feeling from it. And here I am, still at Auburn 3 years later.
And
So
your family enjoys wearing the orange and blue now?
they do. They
That's
do.
awesome.
They
That's
I've
good to hear.
converted them successfully.
That's great. I was talking to Auburn played baseball out here in Dallas 2 weeks ago, and I was talking to a guy actually originally from Fairhope, was in my brother's graduating class, and his son plays at Auburn now, a pitcher. And he
Okay.
same thing. Grew up an avid Alabama fan, and I'd not seen him in probably 30 plus years. And so seeing him in an Auburn shirt, that's the first thing I asked him. I'm like, what happened? Right. So
I,
that's funny.
I you just don't know.
Yep. That's awesome. That's great. Well, as an Auburn fan, that's always good to hear when Alabama folks come over to the Auburn side. That's good. So a lot of our previous guests and even listeners are coaches. So I like to ask athletes this question. So is there, you talked about the countless hours you've put in. So obviously there's been coaches that have really poured into you. Is there one or two that like had that really lifelong impact that just comes to the top of your mind when you think about that?
I mean, I think I could definitely give the most credit to actually my dad. He, of course, has coached me ever since I picked up the softball. It's been a learning process for both of us on how to work together. But he actually, not only did he, work with me the countless mornings and nights, and there's been some long nights, but he also coached me for rec ball, all stars, and he actually got the opportunity to be my high school assistant coach all throughout my high school years.
Wow.
So he's been with me through the good, the bad, the ugly, and the thick and thin. But I just am so blessed for him and all of his sacrifices that he had made for me, just to work with me. And then another one that had a really big impact on me, even though I really, I don't know, like, I didn't really play for him that long. His name was actually Pat Moyer, and I played with him for, I want to say, 2 seasons in travel ball, but he was the head of my travel ball organization, and he actually stepped down to kind of help out my team called the Tennessee Fury. But he was the definition of just a full blown God servant. And which he probably doesn't even realize the impact he actually had in my life. But I just remember, like, he would make us, like, learn one of the songs that points out to me is he made us learn the song How Great Is Our God. And so, like, every time I hear that song, I actually heard it this past week in church, and I was just like, wow, like, I learned this at the age of 12 from my softball coach, who just kind of instilled that mindset in all of us to play for the audience of one, which was also a very key phrase that we had on that team. We all wore it on our helmets. We might not have all understood it at that time
Right.
fully about what it meant to play for an audience of one, or just how much bigger it was than our sport. But now, just looking back, that I did have a coach in my life that really advocated for that and introduced all of the us girls at such a young age through softball to him. I just think is pretty incredible, honestly.
That's amazing, especially in the travel ball world.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't hear a lot of that coming out of the travel ball world. That's awesome. Um, Being a Division I college athlete is demanding of time, right? And you're also a student, so that's really two jobs. But so how do you balance being a Division I softball player with a student and then just life outside? You got to have a life outside the classroom, off the field, and then secondly, how do you take care of the spiritual life in that with all the demands of your time?
It can get pretty hectic. I am a very big planner. I plan out my day to day, all day, every day. I have a very laid out, structured calendar, or else I would not even know where to start with my days. But honestly, you kind of get a routine about what each day looks like. And so I know with me, I obviously have my classes, which I like to have in person just because I'm more of an in person kind of learner.
Mm.
And I have my practice times, workout times, and then I also like to do like Pilates, and I work out a lot on my own as well. So I'll put that in there. But also, I make it a priority. My cousin actually goes to Auburn, and so family is really big for me. So me and her go eat once a week, and then I also keep in touch with a group of my high school friends, which I make sure that I at least hang out with them once a week, just to kind of have both of those as something that I have outside of softball.
Yeah,
Because I mean, it can just get a lot, and just having that kind of like almost like reset, and just having other people outside of who I see on a day to day basis, even though I love them so much, it's just
right.
nice to kind of get a breath of fresh air every now and then. And then as far as spiritual, I obviously make it a priority every Sunday. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I if we're in town, I'll go to church that morning, or if we have conflicting times, I'll as long as it's as long as I have the time to do it, I will watch it online, even if it's during like our pregame meals or whatever we have going on. And I attend Church of the Highlands in Auburn, so they obviously have a couple different times, and they have it live stream, so that actually works out really well for me. Then another big thing that I have absolutely grown to love about Church of the Highlands is that they have this thing called One, which is like a college service
Hmm.
every Tuesday night, and it's late enough where you really don't have an excuse on not to go. We have it at 8 o'clock every Tuesday, and so we have plenty of time outside of practice and whatever else we might have going on. And so actually, it's been kind of cool to see because me and my roommate started going whenever we were freshmen, and it just kind of started out as the two of us. And then over the years, we went this year, and we're saving seats for like 12 other girls on the team at a time.
Wow.
And just to kind of see how that's grown, even just from within our team, is kind of great and crazy at the same time. But then we also have a Bible study group for within us,
Hmm.
and we meet. I'd probably say about once every 2 weeks with one of the sports chaplains. For he actually does the baseball team, but he's now started working with us with the softball team, and so we just kind of have a couple different outlets that we have going on as far as that. And then I also every morning whenever I wake up, I make sure to do my New Year's resolution was to read the Bible, read the entire Bible in 1 year. So I have this app that I've been doing that has the different scriptures and verses. So I read that as soon as I wake up every morning.
That's awesome. So when you talk about that college group you're going to on Tuesday nights, how it started just you and your roommate to what it is today, that kind of leads to my next question. So to kind of set the stage, I mean, there's a revival happening on college campuses, and it's really through athletics. And I've talked to several people, and they say it's really been going on for a few years, but it really became public with the Ohio State softball team. I mean, football team, softball as well, but their football team. When the football players showed up in the Jesus One T-shirts on report day, and it's gone viral, and you see it, throughout the football season. You and I were talking before we hit record. I've talked to, I think you're the fifth softball player I've talked to, and it's happening in girls softball. I know it's happening in baseball. There's other sports, and so I think part of it is it's just getting more publicity, right? But I do feel like there is a revival like we've never seen, sweeping colleges, and it is through athletics. So talk about, your experience, how you've seen it. Maybe it's impact your life, or you talked about saving seats for the girls going on Tuesday nights. I mean, how have you seen it, kind of bring your team together?
I mean, it's just been one of the most heartwarming things just to like be able to go to church with like half your team. I mean, that's just crazy in itself. And there is a revival going on. I mean, last year there was a Christian band that came to Auburn and we worshiped all for about 3 hours. And then after it, people were so fired up that they went to this lake nearby and hunt like there. I can't remember the number, but there was just an extreme amount of people that got baptized after that, felt God's presence, and just decided to go all in. And it's just been a surreal experience to get to see all of this firsthand.
Hmm.
And just like we've had a couple girls on the team that have gotten baptized throughout college that I've been able to go and see them publicly announce their faith to God. Um, and I think that one of the biggest things with like having such a strong faith in sports is being able to do it publicly and like not like showboat it, but just showcase it to other people. Like I know with our team, we pray in a little circle. We gather around, arms around each other, and we just pray before each game in front of the stands. Everybody can see us, and just having that as a part of our game day routine, just allowing us to really recognize what our true purpose is and that softball is just a game, but being able to play it in the glory of Him and giving Him all the praise really surpasses anything that goes on that field.
Yeah, and it's to me what's amazing about watching what's happening is you hear very little criticism. You know, it seems like in previous years, if an athlete talked too much about their faith, they were kind of put down. Now it's become the accepted thing to speak out about your faith. And that's to me, that's what's so cool to see is
Yes.
coaches and athletes. It's like there's this freedom that's never been there before to just talk about your faith. Yeah, that's incredible. And talking about that platform, athletics is a platform, and some use it for good, some use it for bad. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of our listeners are coaches and athletes. So, what would you say to that coach or that athlete that maybe wants to take that step to use their platform, more boldly for Jesus, like you're talking about what your team is doing? How would you encourage that coach or that athlete that maybe doesn't feel like they can do it? How would you encourage them to take that step?
I would just tell them to don't be afraid. Like, just take that leap because it's so worth it in the end. I mean, our team has grown so much closer over our bond of Jesus and God that it's just took us to a whole nother level, and we're able to feel more comfortable around each other, being able to express even like our doubts, our fears, and
Hmm.
being able to talk through them together and overcome them in the light of Him just means so much more than everything else. And just being able to have the confidence and knowing that it's okay to do that.
That's all. I mean, it's a simple step, but often the hardest one is the first step. But yes, that don't be afraid because I mean, I truly believe that when you do that, God honors it. Um, that's good. This is my favorite question. This is the one I like to go back and through the years and I go back and look at these. So some people that grew up in a very strong family have like a life verse. So I like to ask if you have that one scripture that you really, is like your foundation for your life, or, is there one you're reading the Bible through this year? Is there one that God just kind of jumped off the screen to you this year?
I would probably say I have one of each, so I'll share both.
That's awesome.
But I know it's a very standard and very, it's mentioned a lot, but
Hmm.
it just holds so much meaning to me and to my family, which would be Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Because anytime I do have a sense of fear or doubt, I just think of that verse and think that I can overcome anything because I have Him inside me and strengthening me, and that there is nothing that can stop the power of Him. And then I think the newly kind of one that I've grown very fond of is probably Proverbs chapter 3, 5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He'll make your paths straight. And so I have had some battles with adversity, and I feel like just knowing that it's all in His plan, He is sovereign, and me and my roommate, we like to like anytime we like go do something that we might be scared to do, we're like, well, God is sovereign. He already knows what's going to happen, so we might as well go all in, do our best, and whatever happens is His will. And I mean, that has just honestly released all anxieties that I've had and has just really allowed me to fully submit my life to Him, and just knowing that He has a plan for me and His plan will be done.
That's that's a good one. Those two both are good. It's funny how a lot of people go to the Philippians 4:13, but I love it because a lot of people have a different perspective of why that's their verse. So I love it when people say the more common verses because everybody I like to hear people's reasons why.
Right.
And the Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 is one that yeah, I have to go back to that one quite often. And just remember that if I'm fully trusting him, then I just need to get out of the way.
Exactly.
You
And
know,
that He
but I
is in
think
control. It's a good
yes,
reminder
and
of what.
yeah, and being a planner, that's hard sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Because you map it out.
Yeah.
I map things out, and then when things don't go exactly the way I have it written down, kind of throws you off. So yeah, that Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 is one that is pretty big for me. Um, Last question, and you talked a little bit about it already, but I like to ask it kind of outside of the churchy answer of read my Bible and pray. Our organization, first two words, all in. It's all over sports. Has nothing to do with faith half the time, but it is every coach, every athlete talks about being all in, right? We took those two words from Colossians 3:17, and whatever you do in word or deed, do it in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Just this concept of, yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're serving at the church or playing softball. You need to give it your all. And so I like to ask it from the spiritual perspective. What does it look like, kind of on a practical sense for you personally to be all in for Jesus? I mean, it's different for everybody.
I would say being all in would, for me, just means to be fully committed to Him. And I like to think of it as a way just to kind of like bring Him up as much as possible, which might sound a little weird, but like in softball, I know there's a ton of failure.
Hmm.
I mean, that's the game. And so anytime like somebody gets mad or something, I'm like, well, it's okay. It's His plan. Like, just, it doesn't have to be like this whole like giving them like a Bible verse or whatever, but just like simple little reminders here and there whenever I can like mention it to somebody or a friend or family members, just kind of like a reassurance and almost like re-perspective, and like not, you can't, don't have to see it as like a bad thing, but
Right.
like he's there. He knows what's going on. Like I said, me and my roommate, we reference the thing God is sovereign all the time. And I just think that being all in just means like trying to verbalize him and his glory as much as possible. And just kind of taking, like I said, that leap of faith. And, some people might not like it, but I mean, that's what it takes. And just giving him all of his glory that he deserves.
That's really good. You said something, especially in the world of softball and baseball in particular. There is a lot of adversity because at the plate, not many people bat above, maybe 350 is really good. That's
Yeah, that's like an
35%.
All American.
Yeah, that's 35%, right? That's not, you know, in our brains, that's not successful, right? So that's an excellent point that in the game that you're playing, you have ample opportunity to encourage somebody, right?
Right.
That's
And
really good.
it's just so easy to get wrapped up in it too. Like, I know sometimes even myself, especially like in the past, like you see all this negative after negative and adversity after adversity, even though it's just in a game. But whenever you dedicate so many hours
Mhm.
to that game, it almost has a bigger weight on you. And then that's whenever you have to go, like, oh, wait, like, this is only just a small part in his plan for me. And that, like I said, there's just so much bigger purpose for you than your sport. And it's a great outlet and it's a great way to communicate and use that platform, like you had mentioned. And we're all super grateful for that opportunity, but it's also an opportunity that we get to use to showcase our love for God.
Exactly. And I really believe whether it's in sports or whatever stage of life, oftentimes it's that adversity that God uses to draw us closer to Him. And it gives us, and second to that, everybody around, they say, okay, Stuart, Alexis, y'all say you follow Jesus. Let me watch you when things aren't going your way, right? Because it's easy to say, I give God all the glory when you win. And
Right.
when you're having success on the field and at the plate, that's easy. A lot of athletes do that. It's during that adversity, everybody around you is watching, right? And I think that's so important. And he uses that to make us better. And you said it, it's a game, right?
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's not who you are. That's
No,
the
it's not.
beautiful part of it. It's not who you are. That's great. Well, I appreciate this. I think I'm gonna have to go back and look, but I think you may be the first current Auburn athlete that we've ever had on here. So somebody being an Auburn fan, it's great.
Perfect.
It's great to
Yes.
have somebody from Auburn. I've actually interviewed, I think somebody from Alabama, but not Auburn. So
Oh,
yeah, it's
yeah.
good. So anyway, thank you
Yeah.
so much. I enjoyed it. I say this after almost every podcast that if nobody ever listens to it, just from what the little bit I heard and the notes I took, it encouraged me. So thank you. I know listeners have been encouraged as well. And so as we close it out, just a quick word to the listeners. Whatever platform you're listening on, hit the subscribe button. There's 200 plus previous episodes, and there's some other great ones coming. And then, as we said at the beginning, we want to thank our sponsors, the Jesus One Apparel. Folks, go visit them. They have more shirts on there every day, jesusoneapparel.com.